The content you are about to hear may be graphic.
Hi.
Oh, weirdo. Checking the brightness, you guys. There it is, alright. Come on, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do?
I'm Tomi.
Stupid.
And this is Teresa, whose channel it is.
That's because which became both of ours now.
Kind of. But I'm not claiming anything.
We had a bit of a long one, but I'm very passionate about it.
Oh God, shoot me now. It's one of my favorite stories, if it makes you feel any better.
He wants to die. Okay. So. Alrighty. Jonbenet. What? Jonbenet Ramsey was born in 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, the younger of two children of Patsy and John Ramsey.
Everybody knows this story.
She'd be 26 now or something.
I think everybody knows this story. Everybody should know this story. If you don't know this story, we're about to educate you. Jonbenet Ramsey was an American child beauty queen.
You skipped what?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Who was killed at the age of 6 in her family's home in Boulder, Colorado.
She had an older brother named Burke, as well as half-siblings from John's previous marriage, one daughter of which died shortly before Jonbenet.
But for different reasons.
Yeah, she died in a car accident.
Her first name combines her father's first and middle names, and her middle name is a variation of her mother's. I just finished the thing. It's your turn. Oh, are you trying to bring up a thing? Can I read?
Sorry, you guys. I like to show pictures.
Should I keep reading?
Yeah, you can keep reading.
Jonbenet was enrolled in kindergarten at High Peaks Elementary School in Boulder, Colorado. John Ramsey was a businessman who was the president of Access Graphics, a computer system company that later became a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin. I'll just keep reading. No? Okay. His first marriage.
His first marriage ended in divorce in 1978. His two surviving adult children, a son and daughter, lived elsewhere. His 22-year-old daughter from her first marriage, Elizabeth, died in a 1992 car crash.
That's so sad. In 1991, John had moved with his second wife and family to Boulder, where Access Graphics headquarters was located. Patricia.
Okay, Patricia, or Patsy, Ramsey entered their daughter in various child beauty pageants that were held in Boulder.
Just for the record,
her parents.
I don't believe that those things are a good thing when they dress them up to look like little adults. This little girl did not look like a little girl. She looked like an adult, but a tiny one. Just pisses me off. Jonbenet won the titles of America's Royal Miss, Little Miss Charlevoix. I probably screwed that word up. Little Miss Colorado, Colorado State All-Star Kids Cover Girl, and National Tiny Miss Beauty. She was a very beautiful girl. Mm-hmm. I just don't like that people dress their children up to look like that. It invites awful people to stare at her. Should I keep reading?
Jonbenet's active role in child beauty pageants and Patsy's reported pageant mother behavior were reported by the media after the murder.
A lengthy handwritten ransom note was found in the house. According to the statements that Patsy gave to authorities on December 26, 1996, she realized that her daughter was missing after she found a 2.5-page handwritten ransom note on the kitchen staircase. The note demanded
$1,800 million for the
1800,000.
118,000. Sorry, for the child's safe return, almost the exact value of a bonus her husband had received earlier that year. Amazing.
Gee, that doesn't sound fixed at all. The ransom note was unusually long. The FBI told the police that it was very unusual for such a note to be written at the crime scene. Yeah, who's going to take the time to write 2.5 pages?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 pages. Who's going to take the time, when they've just kidnapped and or murdered a child, to write a 2.5-page ransom note, asking for the exact amount that Daddy's about to get? That doesn't make sense. Not unless they were already known by the family. And I think the mother did it. She showed no remorse. I'm going to keep reading. Experts from CBS, the case of Jonbenet Ramsey, reported that multiple lines from the ransom note were actually lifted from movies, including Dirty Harry and Speed.
Should I read the ransom note?
Sure.
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw 118,000 from your account. 100,000 will be in 100 bills, and the remaining 18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. My deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do particularly like you, so I'd advise you not to provoke them. Don't particularly like you. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you something about the bank. If you alert the bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. She will be scanned for electronic. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if you are found, if any are found, they're really bad handwriting. She really worked hard. The person really worked hard to disguise her handwriting. She dies. You can try to deceive us, but you warned that we are familiar with law enforcement, countermeasures, and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions. And you stand a 100% chance for getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, and as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use this good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you, John. Now, John. Victory, SBTC. I'm sorry, but that's really overboard for.
Should I read the next one?
Yes.
Experts tested the time it would take to write the ransom note, and it took every test taker at least 20 minutes to complete, without having to think about what to write. That's copying. Copying what was written took 20 minutes. if you have to think about what you're going to write, it's going to take you at least half an hour, if not longer, to write that stupid note. So who in the hell is going to take half an hour, at the very least, to write a ransom note while sitting in somebody else's house with the chances of somebody coming downstairs? Who's going to do that? Only somebody who was in the house already. Seriously. You want to read or you want me to read? So,
A forensic linguistics expert said the language in the note was maternalistic, and that it seemed like the author deliberately made certain errors to make it seem like the writer's native language wasn't English. That's racist.
Police believe that the note was staged because it did not have any fingerprints except for Patsy's and authorities who had handled it, and because it included an unusual use of exclamation marks and initialisms.
The note and practice draft was written with a pen and pad of paper from, guess where, the Ramsey's house.
It was Patsy's freaking notepad. According to a Colorado Bureau of Investigation report, there are indications that the author of the ransom note is Patricia Ramsey. However, the evidence fell short of a definitive conclusion. That's just because when they tried to get her to do it, she changed her handwriting.
Bad. They've got money, too. I think a lot of this has to do with money.
Probably.
Michael Baden, a board-certified forensic pathologist who had consulted with both sides of the case, said he had never seen a note like it in his 60-year experience, and that he did not think it was written by an outside stranger.
Sorry. A federal court ruled it highly unlikely that Patsy wrote the note, citing 6 certified handwriting experts. The court bemoaned the existence of self-proclaimed experts with credentials trying to wrangle their way into the case by accusing Patsy without scientific basis. Handwriting can change. You can very easily change your handwriting and how hard you write just by thinking about it. Proof has been all over the place on that.
The only people known to be in the house on the night of Jonbenet's death were her immediate family, Patsy and John Ramsey, and their son, Burke.
Now, there's been a lot of talk that it might have been the son, and then the mom wrote the note to cover for him. So,
yeah, we'll get into that.
I'm just saying, that's my own personal thing. The ransom note contains specific instructions against contacting police and friends, but Patsy telephoned the police at 5:52 a.m. She also called family and friends. If the note says don't fucking do it, why would you do that? You just killed your daughter.
2 police officers responded to the 911 call and arrived at the Ramsey home within 3 minutes. They conducted a cursory search of the house, but did not find any sign of forced entry. Do you think they would have came as fast if they hadn't had money? That's my opinion.
Since the crime occurred on Christmas Day, there were fewer people available to get to the scene. Okay.
Officer Rick French went to the basement and came to a door that was secured by a wooden latch. He paused for a moment in front of the door, but made a critical error when he walked away without opening it.
Yeah, why the hell would you do that? You have to secure everything. French later explained that he was looking for an exit route used by the kidnapper, which the closed inside peg ruled out. Unknown to him, Jonbenet's body was on the other side of the door.
John made arrangements to pay the ransom, and a forensics team was dispatched to the house.
Lower you window down a little more. It's kind of hot. The team initially believed that the child had been kidnapped. Jonbenet's bedroom was the only room in the house that was cordoned off to prevent contamination of evidence. That's just ridiculousness.
Sorry, I was trying to find a picture of her bedroom.
I can keep reading. No precautions were taken to prevent contamination of evidence in the rest of the house. Meanwhile, friends and family's minister arrived at the home to support the Ramseys victim advocates also arrived at the scene.
Visitors picked up and cleaned surfaces in the kitchen, possibly destroying evidence.
Yeah, that was ridiculousness, too. Boulder Detective Linda Arndt arrived at the house at about 8 a.m. with the goal of awaiting the kidnapper's instructions, but there was never an attempt by anyone to claim the money.
It's a lot of money to not claim.
Right?
At 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, because this is in Colorado, about 8 hours after 911 call, Detective Arndt asked John Ramsey and Fleet White, a family friend, to search the house to see if anything seemed amiss, asking them to start upstairs and work their way down.
Yeah, that was ridiculousness on another level. If you're gonna go through the house, you should get everyone out, and then search the house with people that actually know what they're doing and aren't gonna contaminate the scene. They started their search in the basement. John opened the latch door, which Officer French had overlooked, and found his daughter's body in one of their rooms. Yeah, first place he freaking looked. Gee, he might have known she was in there, I think. And she said to start on the top floor, and they started in the basement.
Yeah, automatically. Just let's go to the basement.
Come on. Jonbenet's mouth.
Jonbenet's mouth was covered with duct tape. A nylon cord was found around her wrist and neck, and her torso was covered by a white blanket.
John Ramsey picked up the child's body and took it upstairs. When Jonbenet was moved, Ramsey was further contaminated. And critical forensic evidence was disturbed for the returning forensics team.
Each of the Ramseys provided handwriting, blood, and hair samples to the police.
Easily faked for the handwriting. John and Patsy participated in a preliminary interview for more than 2 hours, and Burke was also interviewed within the first couple of weeks following Jonbenet's death.
That was wrapped around her arms and hands and that.
Before she starts to read the next part, I'm gonna say, warning, things after this could get kind of fucking graphic. So, right there.
The autopsy revealed that Jonbenet had been killed by strangulation and a skull fracture.
She was also hit on the head close to an hour before her asphyxiation, rendering her unconscious.
The official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with cranial-cerebral trauma.
The word is craniocerebral, just so y'all know. There was no evidence of conventional rape, although sexual assault could not be ruled out.
That's the basement, you guys, that she was found in. Although no semen was found, there was evidence that there had been vaginal injury.
At the time of the autopsy, the pathologist recorded that it appeared her vaginal area had been wiped with a cloth. Her death was ruled a homicide.
A garrote that was made from a length of nylon cord and the broken handle of a paintbrush was tied around Jonbenet's neck and had apparently been used to strangle her, which I showed you guys in the past picture.
Part of the bristle end of the paintbrush was found in a tub containing Patsy's art supplies, but the bottom third of it was never found despite extensive searching of the house by the police in subsequent days.
The autopsy revealed a vegetable or fruit material which may represent a pineapple, which Jonbenet had eaten a few hours before her death.
Photographs of the home taken on the day when Jonbenet's body was found show a bowl of pineapple on the kitchen table with a spoon in it.
And this proves that somebody could have entered the basement through the window. Police reported that however, neither John nor Patsy said that they remembered putting a bowl on a table or feeding pineapple to Jonbenet.
Police reported that they found Jonbenet's 9-year-old brother Burke Ramsey's fingerprints on the bowl.
The Ramseys have always said that Burke slept through the entire night until he was awakened several hours after the police arrived.
Bullshit.
There's actually been audio that they redid from the police.
Where he talked about getting up in the middle of the night, making him and Jonbenet something to eat with the pineapple. And I want to say milk.
Yeah, she was weird. She liked pineapple and milk. There's the bowl.
Which is weird, because one's acidic and one's creamy. It doesn't make sense.
I want to try it just to see what it's like.
Ew, no. In December 2003, forensics investigators extracted enough material from a mixed blood sample found on Jonbenet's underwear to establish a DNA profile.
Just basically how I just showed the underwear. The DNA belonged to an unknown male person and excluded the DNA of each of the Ramseys. The DNA was submitted to the FBI Combined DNA Index System, CODIS, a database containing more than 1.6 million DNA profiles, but the sample did not match any profile in the database.
Now, see, but that's easy to fake too, because you can take somebody else's DNA and put it on the underwear to make it look like it was somebody else, you know? Police originally reported that some abrasion on Jonbenet's back were likely from a stun gun, something Kohler denies, explaining that the size and space between the abrasions don't match up the type of stun gun that the intruder allegedly used, but do match part of a toy train found in the basement not far from her body.
In October 2006, the report said that new forensic analysis with more sensitive techniques revealed that the original DNA contained genetic markers from 2 individuals other than Jonbenet.
A. James Kohler, who was lead investigator for the DA's office, said that there were additional traces of male DNA found on a cord and paintbrush that Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey did not mention, and that there were 6 separate DNA samples belonging to unknown individuals that were found by the test.
Former FBI profiler Candice Geelong believes that the DNA having shown up identically in several different places on multiple surfaces belonged to the killer.
Former Adams County, Colorado District Attorney Bob Grant, who has assisted the Boulder DA's office on the case for many years, also believes that the DNA evidence is significant, saying that any resolution of the case would have to explain how the DNA showed up on several pieces of Jonbenet's clothing.
As I said, graphic. Baden said forensic pathologist Michael Baden said trace amounts of DNA can get on places and clothing from different suspicious means. There is non-suspicious means. There is no forensic evidence to show that this is a stranger murder.
Later tests done on skin under her nails, why didn't they do that before, found 2 males and 1 female. Unfortunately, the DA evidence was too tiny and badly degraded to determine whether its source was skin tissue or blood. But what investigators do know is that it didn't match the DNA evidence from the unknown male found on Jonbenet's underwear and leggings.
Dr. Henry Lee, the same DNA expert who testified in O.J. Simpson's trial, told the case of Jonbenet Ramsey that DNA found in Jonbenet's underwear may not be from the intruder or from members of her family. I bet it's the same one that said that the glove didn't fit.
I don't feel so good. The guy that said the glove didn't fit was dude's lawyer. He explained that some DNA may be from saliva from someone who manufactured or packaged the underwear, or from the store where it was purchased, employees working there, customers sifting through it, etc. The only thing this really tells us is that the Ramseys may not have washed before wearing.
But there was other spots of it in other places.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they washed it after she wore it, if she's had the underwear for years.
Well, the other thing is, I don't know if they talk about it on there, but it was too big of underwear for her.
Oh yeah, it was like 2 sizes too big.
Boulder police initially focused almost exclusively upon John and Patsy, but by October 1997 had over 1,600 people in their index of persons of interest for the case.
Wow. Errors that were made in the initial investigation complicated the resolution of the investigation and applicable theory.
Those errors included loss and contamination of evidence, lack of experience and technical staff on the investigation, evidence shared with the Ramseys, and delayed informal interviews with the parents. Of course, they didn't make that very easy because they decided not to help.
In the summer of 1997, approximately 6 months after Jonbenet's death, the Ramseys moved to a new home in Atlanta after a summer at their vacation retreat in Charlevoix, Michigan.
Lou Smith was a detective who came out of retirement in early 1997 to assist the Boulder County District Attorney's Office with the case.
8 flies. In May 1998, he presented his findings to the Boulder Police with other staff members of the DA's office, concluding that the evidence pointed away from the Ramseys. They were unable to successfully challenge the police department's belief that the Ramseys were guilty. The DA's office.
The DA's office sought to take control of the investigation due to the animosity between the police and the DA's office and the pressure to obtain a conviction. Colorado Governor Ray Romer interceded and named Michael Caine as a special prosecutor to initiate a grand jury.
2 of the lead investigators in the case had opposing views.
Both Lou Smith and Steve Thomas ultimately resigned. Smith because he believed that the investigation had incompletely overlooked the intruder hypothesis, and Thomas because the DA's office had interfered with and failed to support the police investigation of the case.
Grand jury was convened beginning September 15th, 1998 to consider indicting the Ramseys for charges related to the case.
A grand jury was convinced.
I just read that.
In 1999, the grand jury returned a true bill to charge the Ramseys with placing the child at risk in a way that led to her death, and with obstructing an investigation of murder based on the probable cause standard applied in such grand jury proceedings.
But Boulder County District Attorney Alex Hunter, isn't that? Did not prosecute them because he did not believe that he could meet the higher standard of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt that is required for a criminal conviction. Isn't that?
Yeah, that's his name.
That's funny.
I no longer like his name now because he didn't think there was enough evidence. Mary Lacey, the next Boulder County District Attorney, took over the investigation from the police on December 26, 2002.
In April 2003, she agreed with a federal judge who sat on a 2002 libel case that evidence in the suit is more consistent with a theory that an intruder murdered Jonbenet than it was with the theory that Mrs. Ramsey did.
Patsy died.
I'll never know.
Patsy died of ovarian cancer at age 49 in 2006. She was interred next to her daughter.
On July 9, 2008, the Boulder District Attorney's Office announced that as a result of newly developed DNA sampling and testing techniques, touch DNA analysis, the Ramsey family members were excluded as suspects in the case. Lacey publicly exonerated the Ramseys.
On February 2, 2009, Boulder Police Chief Mark Beckner announced that Stan Garnett, the new Boulder County District Attorney, was turning the case over to his agency and that his team would resume investigating it.
Sorry. Garnett found that the statute of limitations for the crimes identified in the 1999 grand jury true bill had expired and did not pursue review of the case against the Ramseys.
In October 2010, the Boulder police reopened the cold case.
New interviews were conducted following a fresh inquiry by a committee that included state and federal investigators.
Police were expected to use this last DNA technology in their investigation. The latest.
There was no new information gleaned from those interviews. It would be easier if you just, split the information onto two things and you could read part and I could read part. That way we didn't have to.
Fine. It was reported in September 2016 that the investigation into Jonbenet's death continues to be an active homicide case, per Boulder Police Chief Greg Testa.
That feels so good. In 2015, Beckner disagreed with exonerating the Ramseys, stating, "Exonerating anyone based on a small piece of evidence that has not yet been proved to even be connected to the crime is absurd."
In 2016, Gordon Cumbus, a former investigator for the Boulder County District Attorney's Office, also questioned total absolution of the Ramseys, stating, "We all shed DNA on all the time within our skin cells."
It can be deposited anywhere at any time for various reasons that are benign. To clear somebody just on the premise of touch DNA, especially when you have a situation where the crime scene wasn't secured at the beginning, really is a stretch. Stephen E. Pitt, a forensic psychiatrist hired by Boulder authorities, said Lacey's public exoneration of the Ramseys was a big slap in the face to Chief Beckner and the core group of detectives who had been working on the case for years.
John Mark Carr, a 41-year-old elementary school teacher, was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand on August 15, 2006, when he falsely confessed to murdering Jonbenet.
Yeah, I heard about that. He claimed that he had drugged, sexually assaulted, and accidentally killed her. Some people will say whatever just to get attention.
According to CNN, authorities also said that they did not find any evidence linking Carr to the crime scene.
In his confession, Carr had provided only basic facts that were publicly known and failed to provide any convincing details.
His claim that he had drugged Jonbenet was doubted because the autopsy indicated that no drugs were found in her body.
Duh. DNA samples that were taken from Carr did not match DNA found on Jonbenet's body. That just goes into theories.
So here are the theories. Family member theory. According to Greg McCrary, a retired profiler with the FBI, statistically it is a 12-to-1 probability that it's a family member or caregiver who is involved in the homicide of a child.
Or at least a very close family friend. Police saw no evidence of a forced entry, but they did see evidence of staging of the scene, such as a ransom note.
A shard glass from the broken window was found resting on